friends to squeeze in the cheese with another edition of S&C's WWE Talk. Now, we haven't been online for a while because we've both been doing different things, and we kind of neglected the show. But we're back, and we just wanted to bring another show for you guys. It's been a monumental 2 months. Lots have happened, but the show must go on in WWE. It always does. And we're coming up to what's it called, Bash in Berlin tomorrow. And I guess a lot. We got Gunther versus Randy Orton for the world title. We got Judgment Day. Judgment Day, not Judgment Day. It's Finn Balor and no, it's not even Finn Balor. Damn it, who is this? It's Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio, and that's something I guess that they're headlining the match for. And there's a lot of things going on in WWE. Raw was tonight. I mean, no, it was Monday night, and we're doing the show on Friday. Raw was Monday night, and a lot of things happened. What did you think of the show, Cheese?
Well, I thought it was overall entertaining. I thought the action was good. And I think the stories they're building are pretty entertaining. The standout, the thing that really stood out to me a lot was Braun Breaker. He came out with his dog. He had his little like his German Shepherd. It looks like they're going to pair him with Jey Uso, which I just don't think Jey Uso should be anywhere near any type of main event. I don't care how much they call him main event Jey Uso. He's just really not that good. But it's just incredible to me. Like, do you think Braun Breaker is painting himself at this point? Braun Breaker, to me, when I see him, it's like he's almost doing blackface, bro. He is so dark. It's like
No, he's kind of super tan. I mean, they're just putting him under a tanning salon. It's crazy.
yeah.
I don't know if he's like white as fuck or what, but yeah, he's under really really bad tan. Yeah, yeah.
Now, do you think that they're that like he's doing that and like WWE's doing that just to kind of make him like really stand out and really make it noticeable?
I
Or do
think
you
he's doing that, but I mean, anything's possible with Triple H. Triple H does a lot of subtle things to like really that he doesn't seem like on the surface to be racist, but he's done subtle things over the years. He's a very smart guy. He does a lot of things that are under the radar that's racist. Like I don't know if you've noticed the symbol when the wrestlers go out, it looks like a star on when the curtain when it goes out. That's a Nordic rune. That's called the faith rune. That's the Nordic rune. And you know how he used to come out with the cross, the temperate
yeah,
cross. That's a Germanic symbol. So the
yeah,
guy, he's not like a real forward thinker. I think he's got kind of like racist tendencies. So did
yeah,
Vince, but Vince didn't go all out. Triple H goes all out though. He does a
yeah,
lot of that Germanic tendency thing. He himself, he is German descent, but not German descent. He's French descent. And the French have some Germanic blood. They have Latin blood and Germanic blood.
yeah.
So, the whole thing with Imperium and Gunther and all that, so that's the thing, I think he has a wet nut orgasm over Gunther, I think he loves that guy. I mean, he's like enamored with that guy, so I mean, that's the thing with Triple H. But yeah, Braun he's really just, yeah, he's really gone over with that tan.
Or do you think Braun sees the success that the Samoans and the Tongans are having, and he's like, "Hey, I want to be the same color as they are, and then maybe I'll get that same type of push." What if
No,
he's
no, he's not gonna
the
do
bad guy,
that. But everybody's pushing like things like that. I mean, yeah. Oh, hey, how you doing? Some guy from Sri Lanka. How you doing, guy? Nice to have you from the show. It's good. We got a fan in the chat. He just said hi. He's some guy from Sri Lanka. That's south of India, if you don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's a country from way far away. Anyway, so yeah, I think that I don't think there's anything to do with that, dude. I don't think that's to do with much. Yeah, the Samoans have taken over WWE so much, and I mean, they're the focal point of all they're the focal point of all the writing now. But I mean, it's like I think Triple H saw the money he got from Roman Reigns, and he's trying to book them. But I mean, they say that most of the Samoans are on SmackDown, and right now the new bloodline is getting a lot of flack. They say they're really bad. They know, but everybody's really just talking crap about them. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, especially Tongaloa. I don't know what's going on with Tongaloa, but they said he improved a lot when he was in New Japan Pro Wrestling. But in WWE, he's pretty bad, they say, and people are kind of fed up with it with his work. They say he's not really good. But I mean, anyway, we're talking about Raw right now. SmackDown's later, so we'll talk about SmackDown maybe after we do our show tomorrow. We should do a show tomorrow for Bash in Berlin. But going on to things that happen on Raw, I have a lot of observations that I wanted to talk to you about. Like, I noticed little things that made me think about the wrestlers. Like, how especially Bronson Reed versus Braun Strowman. I think Bronson Reed can't handle long matches. The guy's just too big to handle long matches. Did you see how he was winded the entire match? Dude, that guy's gonna have a heart attack in the ring or something. I don't know if it's his size or his conditioning or what, but the entire match he had to take breaks. He didn't even do rest holds. Like in the past when the guy had to take breaks in the 80s, they did rest holds, but now, I mean, this guy was just, and Braun was waiting for him to get up, and it's like that's crazy. And I think that the match that hard hitting match was just. I noticed that some of these bigger guys just don't have the size to their work rate to do these matches they had. Another guy like that I noticed was Karrion Cross. Karrion Cross was in the ring with Jey Uso and Kofi Kingston, and man, I think I don't know if he's green or if he just plain sucks, but his moveset wasn't good with those two wrestlers, and he was slow, he was lumbering, he was methodical. I mean, the guy just couldn't be in the ring with those two. He couldn't keep up with them, and he's the one who took the pin, of course, because he he's the one who took the pin, of course, because he's lower down the card. But I mean, and he's not the focal point. If the focal point right now is Jey Uso because he sells the most merch. But I mean, what do you think, bro? I mean, these big guys, they just don't have the conditioning anymore. They're not like and another thing, they just don't have the charisma. They they're pushing guys who don't have charisma to be like in the top spots. I mean, Pete Dunne winning his match, that guy, dude, he would be wrestling like in front of 100 people in a high school if it was the 80s. You wouldn't even get it close to the main event if it was the 80s. He wouldn't even be in a he'd be squashed. He'd be a jobber. Not even He wouldn't even make WWE TV. He'd be a jobber in like one of the regional promotions. He'd be a jobber in Continental Wrestling Association if it was the 80s, man. I mean, this guy. I mean, these guys they're pushing out in the size of them and the way
Yeah,
they
yeah,
look.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry I'm talking so much, but it just
No,
just
it
pisses me off, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, like when you put like carrying Cross, you put him in with like young, like quick guys. He's gonna his style's probably not gonna mesh so well with him because that's not, what he does. So when the other two are, flying around the ring, and doing these, spots and being quick, he's gonna look very, very much out of place. Kind of, Bronson Reed, just a big lumbering dude. And yeah, I think it's funny that he jumps off the top rope, that he'll do that. And I thought the match was entertaining. But I just thought that like when Bronson Reed does the jumpy stuff, he looks like he's pretty good at it. But then when Braun Strowman tries to do some of that stuff, it just doesn't, Like you see him, like he lands on his knee, like you can tell he's just not that comfortable with it. But I wonder if since he's like, oh shit, like Bronson Reed's, doing this, he's doing this crazy flying stuff. If I want to be relevant, if that's what Triple H is looking for, now I got to do that kind of stuff. So I wonder if now, like, there's going to be a push to see like the big guys, since like kind of Bronson Reed kind of, start like, like back in the days when it was Bam Bam Bigelow and Van Vader doing those things. Like if there's
Hmm.
another push for like the big guys to try and do those type of moves. But yeah, I thought what
Well,
he does
that's interesting that you mentioned that, bro. Oh, yeah, I wanted to say something about that because that brings me into another segue. Psycho Sid, God rest his soul, he died this week. And
yeah.
the thing is, he was actually talking about that in an interview I saw a few days ago on YouTube. He was talking about how when he snapped his leg that one time in 2001 when he lost the world title. He said he didn't want to come off the top rope because he didn't want to come off the second rope because he just wasn't comfortable with that. And he was supposed to hit a knee on Scott Steiner, but it totally went terribly wrong. Back then, the big guys, they were pressured to do stuff like that, and they're
Mhm.
pressured to do stuff like that now. The big guys, some guys are more agile than others. Let's face it; it depends on the body structure, the body type. Some guys just can do stuff like that. Some guys can't. I mean, Chris Benoit, he did high flying moves, like not high flying moves, but he came off the top rope with a headbutt. But he wasn't a high flyer, not like the Dynamite Kid. The Dynamite Kid was your quintessential high flyer. Rey Mysterio is a high flyer, but I mean, yeah, these guys they have to keep on evolving because the wrestling business always evolves. So I mean, we have to see guys who do different things. It's like any sport that is like combat and pseudo combat sports like we watch because I watch a lot of MMA, and MMA is all to the point now where everybody's at an elite level. If you're not at an elite level, you don't compete. So I mean, and everybody basically trains the same way, and that's what's going on in wrestling. I mean, all the guys now, they're all alphas. I mean, not maybe not in personality, but they all have some move set. Like Ricochet showed up in AEW. I don't know if you know that, but he's another guy in AEW. There's tons of guys like Ricochet in AEW. There's tons of guys in WWE who can win against each other in a match. There's
Yeah.
hardly any guys who stand out. The guys who stand out, we as longtime fans and maybe the casual fans can see who are going to be champions in the future. You got Braun Breaker, you got Gunther, who's already the champion, but most of these guys go at a high level, and the big guys to stay relevant, they have to do that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I agree. I agree. Size. So now size just so much. It seems like WWE is getting away from like just thinking size is the way to do it. 'Cause remember Omos? That dude was
Mhm.
giant, but he all he did was punch and kick, punch and kick, punch and kick. And it's like, man, like when he comes out, and who's the great Khali? The guy who chopped, like
He
when they
was
come out,
horrible. Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh, that dude's huge. But then like once the novel, it's like, like Hornswoggle, but different. When Hornswoggle comes out, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Look at him go. But then once you watch the match, you're like, like, yeah, it's funny to watch. There's a novelty to it, but you're not gonna really tune in to see every one of his matches. Like if Braun Breaker's on, like I'll stop and I'll watch the match. If Gunther's on, I'll stop, I'll watch the match. Like if there's an almost match, like like I'll maybe I'll have it on the background, but I know he's not going to do anything amazing. He's not going to do anything that's really going to set the world on fire. So I think they're getting away from size. And they're kind of trying to find guys that are big enough that they're still imposing and they're still they still have that like awe factor, that like shock factor. Like, oh my gosh, look at that guy.
Yeah, they have to have charisma and ability, basically.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. So, like with guys um uh like Otis, because like Otis, when Otis is a sidekick, like he can get the crowd to pop. he can, like when he was getting bullied by Chad Gable, like he got the crowd to pop. They were behind him. Like he was, like, yeah, he could win, he could win, he could win. But it seems like when he isn't the sidekick, and it seems like he's kind of the focal point of the little program, it seems like he doesn't have, you know, the crowd support when he's kind of leading the stable. But like if he's like an underling, like a sidekick, it seems like he gets a lot more support from the fans. Have you noticed that?
I have, but I also think that it has to do a lot of his booking. Like they just haven't found his niche, and they just can't find the niche for a lot of guys. There's so much they could do. It's so and we're armchair quarterbacks basically.
Yeah,
We're fans. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know what they're doing with these guys and these girls. But the thing is, there's so much they could do on TV that looks like it could work. Like Otis had his time when he had that Mandy Rose thing, he was over. That was an over feud for him with Dolph Ziggler. They found the perfect gimmick for him. They found the perfect time, the perfect thing. People love that. It's just unfortunate it didn't happen in front of a live crowd. Because I mean, we could have really gauged how they would have pushed Otis as a babyface. Because they probably could have kept them together for a long time, and Otis would have been a hugely over babyface. Because the guy's got charisma for some reason. I mean, he looks like a big oaf. He's a homely dude. He looks like a totally nice guy, and he's got a lot of charisma. I mean, everybody cheers for the guy. And it's like you got a guy like Otis who everybody cheers for, and he looks like, you know, a mutant, a mutant basically. Then you got a guy like Karrion Cross who's got all the tools and looks like a giant just bruiser, and nobody cheers for him. I
yeah,
don't know if his lack of charisma or what, but the thing is, I mean, it just depends if they find the right thing for them. I
yeah,
think they just gotta. I think Triple H is in the right position. I think he's the right guy to lead the WWE. But you can't put everybody over. And I mean, he's not totally omnipotent enough to make everybody become a star, So there's naturally going to be some guys who have more star power under Triple H than other guys.
yeah. Now, do you like remember back in the like in the '80s, like that always be like a WWE superstars or like wrestling TNT, like that always be like a squash match. There'd always be like two or three squash matches where you
Hmm.
know the, like, and it seems like they don't do a whole lot of squash match. They'll do one once in a while. But do you think they should bring back kind of more squash matches to get kind of like the mid carders over more, or do you think that there's just the rosters are too big and there's just not enough TV time to like have those squash matches?
I don't. I love the squash matches back in the '80s. I thought they were excellent. I thought that was a good way to get a wrestler over and show what he could do, and then you just built him up and moved him up and moved him up. But they stopped that in the '80s, and for the life of me, I don't know why they did that. It was around in the mid '90s. They did it in both WWF and WCW. But then you remember once the NWO thing came along and WCW got stacked with talent, then you had like lesser '80s talent who was the enhancement talent for the top guys in WCW. So you had guys like Chris Adams. You had guys like what's that guy's name? Oh, I forget that guy, Bo Beverly. I mean, you had guys like PCO. You call him PCO now. His name was Carl Willett. Pierre in WWF,
Mhm.
and Jacques Rougeau is tag team enhancement talent. You had just top talent. There was top talent out of other places. That was just in the twilight of their careers, and they were enhancement talent for the top stars. But now you have top talent against top talent, and it really burns them out, and it doesn't give them a day off. By day off, I mean it doesn't give them any chance to uh, to stop the pace because their pace is too fast. And they
Yeah,
should bring back the squash matches. I totally agree. A
yeah,
lot of guys they got their start that way, like Rob Van Dam. He was just talking about how Sid. He did a squash match right before the Sid match, Sid Hogan match at WrestleMania 8, and Sid just destroyed him. And I mean, he used to get had good memories of Sid. But I mean, yeah, a lot of top stars started that way. Even
Yeah.
Hogan was a squash guy for a while. I mean, not a while, maybe about 3 months. Hogan was one of the luckiest careers ever. I mean, but I mean, yeah, they should be back to squash matches. You're absolutely right.
I remember back in the like 80, probably like 80, 86, 87 on TBS, Superstation
Mhm.
TBS. The Road Warriors, man, they'd hit the ring and just beat the snot out of whatever tag team it was. It'd take like 40 to 60 seconds, just bam, bam, bam. And then like watching that as a little kid, I was like, oh my gosh, like, these are the baddest men on the entire planet, you know? And it really
Yeah.
and those squash matches really kind of set kind of like, and even now today, like I think Legion of Doom, oh, they were like, they're the baddest tag team ever in the world. And I think seeing the squash matches, kind of really kind of started setting that up for me.
And you just made me think of something, bro. See, Bronson Reed, you notice how he came on the scene, he was just wrestling his top talent, he was jobbing to them. If they had done squash matches for Bronson Reed early, like put him against three little guys and have the three little guys try to take him down and have him try to just and then just squash all of them and do it like week after week. By the time he's ready for a top feud, he's over already instead of he's trying to get over now. You know what I mean? They could have done that for so many guys if they would just have the squash matches and do it for tag teams and do it for like the guys who are trying to get over. Every guy has to struggle to get over. Every guy and girl in wrestling has to struggle to get over because
Yeah,
that's how you know you're gonna, you know, make it in wrestling. But I mean, nobody is a star overnight. But sooner or later, they find their niche, and that's it. But I mean, there's some guys I mean they some wrestlers and some female wrestlers they try to put over that is just hard to put over. I mean, I remember when they were trying to put over Alberto Del Rio, they came out with his gimmick, and I mean they would just he just didn't get over. There's just guys and they try to put over and I mean squash matches would have benefited some people, you know, but I mean they just didn't do that anymore. They just stopped like early 2000s. They stopped that.
whenever I think of Alberto Del Rio, I remember he left the WWE, and then it was the year of like the when the Royal Rumble went to like, what they go like to 40 people or something like that. They had a huge
Yeah,
one.
yeah, the 40-man Royal Rumble.
And then all of a sudden, like Alberto Del Rio's music hits, and then like, so, oh my gosh. And then like and Alberto Del Rio would drive out like in a nice car. Like,
Yeah.
and it was like the junkie car came out, and it wasn't Alberto Del Rio, it was his sidekick, Roberto Rodriguez.
Oh my god, that's funny.
And,
Yeah, yeah.
oh,
Well,
that made
we're not talking about Alberto Rio. I just mentioned him, but yeah, there's a lot of memories in wrestling. I mean,
me
a lot of bad stuff they done. Luckily now, I'm enjoying it a lot more. I think it's gotten a lot better under Triple H, and there's not as much bad stuff anymore. I mean, it's enjoyable week after week. Most of the stuff he does is good, and I mean, I actually enjoy SmackDown more than Raw because SmackDown has a lot of really top tier talent and top tier matches. I mean, it's like SmackDown's a show for real wrestling fans because there's a lot of good wrestling on SmackDown, and Raw
yeah,
has like a lot of star power, but SmackDown has a lot of actually athletic wrestlers, and they're doing really well. Like, I mean, whenever I see what's his name, Andrade on there, and Carmelo, what's his name, Carmelo Hayes, and Montez Ford, and other guys like that. It's like, man, these guys are all world champion quality. I mean, you can't push all of them and to the title right away, but you just gotta book them right. And there's a lot of there's enough money and power to for everybody. You just have to know how to push them the right way. And I
yeah,
mean, it's just there's a lot of egos in wrestling, and not just the wrestlers. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of egos. I
yeah,
mean, I don't know if you know this, but Raw and SmackDown and in AEW, it's written by writers. It's not even, boy, it's not even wrestlers who write it anymore. They actually hire Hollywood writers to write this stuff. The Hollywood writers, they ask for, they interview, they get the job, and they write it. They don't really know the business, and so now Triple H is in charge, and he grew up in the business, and Stephanie, I don't know what she's doing, but I mean, the guys who are close to being the main writers, they're ex wrestlers. But I mean, there's a lot of Hollywood writers who've had a shitload of bad ideas, and they don't know how to book wrestlers. They know how to write Hollywood movies and TV
Yeah,
shows, but they don't know how to write wrestling shows. So
yeah,
it's like that.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, with how do you what do you think of the new Judgment Day? How do you think that team feels like when you watch them? Do you like do you
I
dig it?
think they're not as menacing as the other Judgment Day with Damian Priest and what's it called? Your girl Rhea Ripley. But I think that they're a bunch of people who are having a good time together. They all seem to mesh well with their personalities. They all seem to get along. They're not imposing, like they're not imposing at all. But it seems like they have a good consistency, a good rapport together. And with Finn Balor as the lead, I mean, I think it's pretty good. I think they're just having a good time. They kind of remind me of the Click in a way, except they have a chick now, So I mean, I think they're pretty good together. I like it. I don't like the fact that they're still feuding with the Terror Twins, but I think that they could just go in a different direction with them and have them. They can still be massively over. I mean, even as baby faces or heels. I mean, they're all talented. I mean, they're all
Yeah,
pretty good. The only weak link I see kind of is Carlito because he's kind of old and doesn't move like he used to, but he still fits in. And I mean, they're just having a good time. I
yeah,
like them. What do you think?
yeah. I like them too. I dig the dynamic that Liv Morgan kind of brings to him. Um, I
Yeah,
think I think it's really done a lot for Dominic's character from kind of
yeah,
going from being like a submissive to kind of a little bit more of an assertive. Even
yeah.
he's not very big and he's not very physically menacingly imposing. I think kind of just that little tweak in his character makes him a little bit more entertaining.
But that whole relationship they have on screen. I mean, you would actually think they're an item off screen because they seem to get along a lot better than he did with Rhea Ripley, And he did get along well with Rhea Ripley. They looked like you could think that they'd be doing something together. But he and Liv Morgan, they're all basically lovey dovey. I mean, I was like watching the screen on Monday. I mean, when I watched Raw,
Yeah,
and they had to avoid kissing each other on the lips. I think they really like enjoy kissing each other. She was kissing him on the cheek and all this, giving him
yeah,
little smooches. I think they're
yeah,
adorable, basically. So
yeah, yeah. I noticed that too. That when it was him and Rhea Ripley, like there wasn't a whole lot of like real intimate touching. There was
yeah,
like some hugging, and occasionally a kiss on the cheek, but it was all like very almost seemed like it was all very planned.
yeah,
Whereas watching them now, like watching Liv and Dominic, it seems like it's much more spontaneous, like how they interact and how close they
yeah,
get together. So I thought a couple
yeah.
times I was like, "Oh fuck!" Like Dom's old lady's gonna be pissed.
Yeah, I know that he's married. He's a married man,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
look, it
yeah,
looks too real. It looks too real to me. So I mean,
yeah. It's gonna be like when Triple H and Stephanie did their angle, and
yeah.
it, it
Yeah, it's
happened.
crazy, man. Yeah, well, yeah. So there's a lot going on. Well, it's almost time to end the show, but I want to get your predictions for Bash at the Beach because we're not gonna have another show until tomorrow. Basically, we got time, but we know Gunther's going over. Who do you think is gonna go over? Is it gonna be Drew McIntyre or CM Punk? I picked
I think
Drew. What do you pick?
I think CM Punk's gonna go over.
Oh, why do you think CM Punk is gonna go over?
Because I think that they get since Drew won the last time.
Mhm.
They have to keep it kind of going back and forth. I don't think uh, I don't think CM Punk will allow would agree to going down twice. To going down 2 weeks. Twice in a row.
Yeah, that makes
I,
sense.
I don't
And to
think
keep
he'll
continuity
handle it.
because he had a strap match. Drew's first strap match, I think, was against Karrion Cross 2 years ago. He lost that one, so he had to keep continuity going. He has to lose this one too. So they'll further down the road they'll say, "Oh, he's never won a strap match." All this shit. So
Yeah,
anyway, what do you think about Terror Twins versus Dom and Liv?
I think Dom and Liv find a way to win. I
Oh, okay. Yeah,
think
you
they're
would think they get squashed, but hopefully they find a way to win because as far as muscle goes, they're vastly outmatched.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, so they're
I
really
I,
outmatched.
I
I don't know
think
anything about the rest of the card. What is going on with the rest of the card? Who's on the rest of the card? I know that it's be Belair versus Belair and Cargo versus the tag team champions. I don't even know their name. Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. But
well,
I mean,
yeah,
who else is going to be? Are they on the card?
that I don't know. I
What do
don't
you know about the SmackDown side?
really not a whole lot.
Yeah, it's like they're just filling it in. Yeah, well, it
Yeah,
starts
because I
at
don't.
9:30 tomorrow or 9 o'clock. I don't know if you're gonna be awake, but I'm gonna be awake, so I'm gonna be watching it, and hopefully it's a good event. I mean, it's gonna be in Berlin, Gunther's backyard, so I mean, yeah, it's gonna be a good match. Him versus Randy Orton.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a good match.
yeah, 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 yeah. It should be good. It'll be good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool. Well, anyway, man, it's been 30 minutes. Well, as you do our show 30 minutes. Well, we'll pick this up. But you want to do a show tomorrow and just give our thoughts on Bash at Berlin?
Yeah, yeah. What? Yeah, yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it at 1 o'clock.
Okay, cool. Okay, anyway, great, great, bro. Then, well, this has been the SNC's WWE talk. We're excited for Bash in Berlin, and hope to see you there. So, anyway, cheese, have a good day, and I'll talk to you later, bro. Okay.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon, man.
Peace.
All
Okay,
right,
see you later.
hey, brother.